Right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the channel. I'm here with Andy from ElectricPetrolHead, and
Hello.
obviously my name's Simon, EV side. And today we thought we'd do something even more different than normal. Is not only go live, but go live with a fellow EV YouTuber. How you doing, Andy?
I'm good, thank you. How are you getting on?
Yeah, good, good. You're still, as everyone in the UK, still in quarantine and lockdown and
Yeah,
everything else.
homeschooling my two girls. Although my wife does most of it. She's a lot better than I do. But yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
Someone made a good
homeschooling
point
a
today.
4-year-old as well.
Yeah, it's literally been the summer holiday so far because we've had 6 weeks of this.
Ah,
Um, and who knows when it's going to end. But
yeah. I've got the luxury of working at the same time as controlling a 4-year-old, and it's like a juggling act.
mm, yeah,
But
it's all good fun.
yeah. So we're gonna have a little chit chat about the BMW i3.
Cool.
Both of
Love it.
us own them. Um, I've had mine for I think 2.5 odd years now. It's a 2017 model. And you've had yours how long?
About just over a year now. We just had the DVA letter that tells me I owe £0 for the road sort of tax. I know it's not the road tax, being honest.
Yeah,
So yeah, we had it a year. It's doesn't really go outside of sort of like just errands. So we haven't done a massive amount of miles, about 4,000. Absolutely love it.
yeah,
Really, just it's just one of those cars you just when I first got in it, it felt quite high up.
yeah, yeah,
Because I used to have like a Porsche Boxster. That's kind of like the petrol head part of electric petrol head. And then we sold the Boxster and a Fiesta and bought the i3. And it felt so high up. It felt like I was climbing into like a minivan or something.
they are
Um,
weird, aren't they? Because they're
yeah,
deceptively high up, even though they're not really. I
yeah.
think it's just
Um,
because like all the space inside the car, I think just is completely different to every other car. So I think you kind of get in, whereas normally you get in a car and like even the seats are thin. So like if you go into a normal car, the normal car has got quite a lot around you, and
yeah,
like the seats are a bit bigger and things like that. So I think it does feel like it's higher.
yeah. And it's but it just makes it such an enjoyable car to drive around. And
And what
although
model
we're
have you got?
got the 320,
Okay.
so that 120 hour. It's so long since there's not 120, is it? I just
The
completely forgotten what battery it's got. It's basically around 44 kilowatt hour. Because I always find it
yeah.
confusing that BMW use a completely different number to everyone else, so it's hard
Uh,
to sort of compare.
why wouldn't
Um,
they?
yeah, just to make it confusing. But I think you actually get more mileage out of your car on one charge than I do, because I'm using it and Kate uses it a lot for relatively short journeys. So the battery's not really getting up to temperature. So we kind of, in the summer, it's about 150 miles to a charge, which
Yeah.
if you spoke to a non-electric car owner, they would laugh and say that's the most pointless thing ever.
Yeah, I mean, why would
And
you only want that amount of range in a car? It's ridiculous.
yeah, but when do you need that? Like, for what we use it for, I don't think we very rarely go below 50% charge.
You use it
Um,
like you said, you use it for kind of local commuting, don't you?
yeah, so the furthest we'll go is maybe 2 hour round trip,
Yeah.
which 150 mile range does without even without even trying. Um, so for that, and I think there's a bit of a fallacy in the EV world at the moment that we've got to have 400, 500 mile range
Yeah.
cars, and it's not. I think even 100 mile range. I think if Smart had bought out a really good EV with 100 mile range years ago when the i3 first came out, and then develop that platform, I think it would have been really good. And now smart are almost non-existent. I just don't see them around.
Yeah,
It's a shame.
it's a shame really because BMW seemed to at the time kind of scratch that itch with a premium looking car with an at the time when it first came out was it was just an okay range. It wasn't great. It was like 80 miles. But now if everyone that I know that and some in the Heart EVs club was they've bought them and they've got the latest models like the sport one and they're getting decent range. And these are people that have come from non-EVs,
Yeah.
not electric car owners, and they're coming back and saying, "Well, look, I don't know why I ever thought that I needed more than this." And
Mm.
they're getting both. They're getting all the benefits of electric cars with cheaper to run, a lot. It's a lot of fun, to drive, and the i3s they've got all the normal BMW luxury kind of interiors and everything else that comes with a BMW.
Mm.
It's just in a smaller package.
Yeah, I've had literally zero issues with the i3.
Yeah, likewise.
Nothing has fallen off, nothing rattles. I've still got that a slight noise on either the wheel bearings or something along those lines. Happens between sort of 55 and 65. So, but my wife doesn't really notice it. I suppose I'm just picky. And I basically I'll drop it into BMW at some point. I think once this is all over, the car dealerships are going to be rammed for a few months. So I might just wait until it's 2-year service, which will be this time next year, and get them to do it then.
If it's not bothering you, it's not causing any problems. There's no
it's
need.
not. It may be standard, and we need to meet up. I'll listen in yours and vice versa.
Yeah. Does yours make a noise? No. Right. Mine's a problem.
And this is the thing with EVs. There's no engine to drown out all the noises. Like when I had the Boxster, it literally sounded like it was going to fall apart every time I drove it, in comparison to like an electric car. So I think we're just quite spoiled with hearing everything.
Yeah, I must admit, I don't miss the engine noise anymore. I like the quiet. I do have music on in the car, but actually, there's a couple of times where I just turn the music off and I just like the silence to drive in the silence, just because it's such a relaxing way to drive.
Especially when you're going around like a neighborhood and you put the windows down and you hear that, like I can't even do the noise, but it's like a Tron-esque sort of electric motor sound. It's obviously the electric motors.
That's a channel waiting to happen. Like Andy does EV noises.
No, it's too high pitch. It's such a lovely sound. It just sounds futuristic. It's like out of a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's just really nice having that sound.
So is it something that when you first saw it, did you instantly like it, or is it something that grew on you?
It's really interesting. So prior to when I first bought, I know we're not talking about Tesla today, but when I bought the Model S in 2018, prior to that, I wasn't really into electric cars that much. I was a petrol head. So
you might want to explain the name.
Yeah. So I was sort of thinking along the lines of like Audi RS6s and stuff like that. I'd never, like the i3 I just thought was weird, and I just didn't do anything for me, but it wasn't really on my radar. And I think children change you a lot, because you suddenly start looking at 2-seaters and thinking, well, I can take my wife or my daughter or my dog. I can't do them all. It does, and
where's the choice?
The i3 we just suddenly started liking. And I'll give the lovely guys at EVC a plug, because I rented their i3 for a week, and we just really enjoyed it. It's quirky, which is a bit different. So I I think it's quite nice not driving just a run-of-the-mill car.
Yeah, agreed.
It's fun. Like the tires are so narrow that you can get it sideways on a roundabout without really trying too hard, and then it's quite good fun. And it feels balanced. Like there's some cars that as soon as they lose a bit of traction, either the electronics override it or it just feels horrible. The i3 just feels balanced.
Yeah,
And you can really like, I know there's a lot of what I would call my petrol head friends, and so many of them secretly have an i3, and it's their station
in the
car.
garage.
Yeah, it's like the car they use day to day.
Yeah.
And then at weekends they've got their Porsche or they've got a Ferrari or a McLaren or something like that. And so many of them really love their i3. And
I think
they just couldn't see living without one.
I just think they're great. I mean, I looked around loads of EVs when I was looking to buy a car, not necessarily an EV, but and I'd tried like Leafs, Ionics, and things like that. The closest I came to a car that I actually kind of liked was the Ionic. It was the hybrid at the time, and I was like, yeah, don't know, not sure. And then literally I saw the i3, and I'd never up to that point, weirdly, I'd never seen one. I'd never seen the advertising for one. It wasn't even on my radar as a car. And I saw it. I thought that is so different. I really like it.
Yeah.
And then I drove it, and like I said, it's fun. It's fun at like speed. It's fun pulling away. It looks futuristic. Even now, it's still got a futuristic look.
The glass panel on the boot.
Yeah.
With all the lights behind.
With the lights, like
I always look at that and go, "That's really cool." Like they could have just made that fiberglass, but they didn't.
And
they
there's
made
no many other cars that have got that either. You know, it's got that style.
They normally it's boot and then the lights.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, it's just like the glass cover of the lights, and it's just really cool. And it's the rear doors are the only interesting thing. And I think it's worth doing a video on its own, and because there's one on the one hand they're really good because the glass goes down.
Yep.
So you got the sort of like the driver's side, and then it goes down to where the passenger side is. And that gives my I've got a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and it gives me a really good view out of the window. So that's good.
Yeah.
The rear windows don't go down, which my daughters were not impressed about.
Yeah. No.
And I've got to obviously open my door to open their door. But from a safety point of view, with the age of girls I have, that's really good for me because I know that they can't just open their door.
Yeah, safety-wise is brilliant. It's worth mentioning that. I'm the same as you. I've got a 4-year-old, and I didn't kind of realise that safety feature until I put in the car seat and all the rest of it. And obviously, you know, the first thing we do is like, oh, what do you mean I've got to take my safety belt off to get something? But actually, then you think about it, you go, oh no, that's really good because normal cars, you know, they've got a rear door that if a child lock's not on or anything like that, they could potentially open and things like that. They literally can't get out.
And they've got no visibility backwards to check there's no one walking past your car as you open the door, whereas the driver does. So safety-wise, it's brilliant. I just have this issue that when the girls are older and we're just becoming, you know, a mum and dad taxi company to them, having to pull up, say, outside a friend's house and have to get out to the car to let them out, I think that would be quite annoying. And I've always wished, and there's rumors of like Tesla doing a Model 2, which would be like a small European car. I doubt they'll do anything until the Berlin Gigafactory comes up. Yeah. But what I would love is, I think Falcon Wing doors would be too complicated for a small car. But do you remember the old Peugeot? I want to say it's a 1008. They had the back doors were like minivan, and they went out and then backwards. So the door slid.
They kind of slid. Yeah.
And I think something like that on an i3 size chassis would be really cool.
more
I,
practical.
I think that would be really good, because in car parks it'd be really handy.
Car parks are a nightmare. I literally, the one story I go back with, and I've documented this on my channel a few times about the my wife calls it the triangle of death, in that like you literally open
One open and
the
then,
two doors and you're trapped in the middle of it.
yeah,
And I was in a car park in St Albans, and I'd parked my side next to one of the pillars, and then
yeah,
got the daughter out, went shopping, come back, and somebody had parked right next to me on the other side. So I couldn't get her in, me and her in. So literally, I had to go around, and don't judge me on this, everyone. I had to go around, I put the back seats down in the back of the car through the boot, put her through the boot into the car, so she was in the car, and then
yeah,
get in myself and climb in. And it's just like, if that was any other normal car, you'd have a back door that you could get into. But
yeah,
they look fantastic, but they're completely impractical.
yeah. And it's but then on the plus side, when you have got the space to open both doors fully, and
It
then
looks great.
you push the driver's seat forward, if you are trying to get like a baby into a car seat, you've got a lot of space to do that.
Yeah, and you've got more room than most, haven't you? Because they're wide
Yeah.
open.
The only I'll say this, it's an obvious tip, but just in case it's not something you try. Park with the passenger side really close to the line on the other side.
Yeah,
You've then
yeah,
got, in most car parking spaces, about a foot of space.
yeah,
And then you open the front door, get out, open the back door, and then close the front door, and then open the back door fully.
yeah.
That gives you quite a lot of space, and then the child can then walk forwards past the.
Although I do think that should be included in a quick start guide for the i3 when you get it. It's like
Yeah,
this is the door dance that you have to do to get people in and
but
out.
yeah, it's like, we were talking about drones, and or I want to fly the drone above the car and just put the camera down and show what I mean by that, because
Mm.
it's not something that bothers me that often. But if there was, say, four sort of teenagers or adults going out a lot and parking in car parks that were busy, I think it would be a bit more annoying.
Yeah.
But then that is literally the only side of the i3 that annoys me. It's
So
a
we've
bit of
got,
a
I think,
useless frunk. I think our frunk still has the granny charger and the instruction book still sealed in its plastic wallet, and I've never opened them, and they're still
yeah,
in there, and I never touch them.
mine's got the tire kit and the gel pack
Yeah,
in
I've
there,
put that in.
and the
Yeah,
granny cable is in there. That's it.
yeah, and that
Um,
it seems to be only Tesla and Rivian that have really clicked that the front, the frunk or front boot is such a useful storage space.
yeah,
I was looking at the new Mini, and there's nothing there because they've
uh,
used the petrol and diesel chassis and just hacked it to bits.
when I saw that, and and it was, don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful car. It's typical Mini, and when you get it, it feels like a Mini. But you're right. It's like, look at, I was expecting to open up the front of that and go, oh, there's a bit. Oh no, there's literally no space. There's literally nothing. You've made it look like an engine, and
Yeah,
and and I hate when they do that, because, like you said, with other cars, unfortunately, mainly Tesla and Rivian and people like that, they're seeing the benefits of it. I mean, Rivian's got more holes in that than the actual car. You know, it's like
it's
things that you can
brilliant.
fit through the middle of it
Yeah.
and stuff.
But I suppose this also brings me back to another massive benefit of the because when we bought the i3, Tesla were obviously EV only. The Jaguar I-Pace chassis was EV only, although obviously it's very similar to their other SUVs, but that was an electric platform. And then the i3. I know it started out life as the Rex, and it's a shame. I know you can get in America they do a kit where you can benefit from the storage space of where the engine would be. because our cars just have a hole there underneath the
Yeah,
boot, which is a bit of it's a bit of a wasted opportunity to make like a bit of a treasure chest or coffin,
yeah,
or
could have
like
gone lower, couldn't it?
a
Yeah,
Tesla do, like the hidden sort of extra storage. I think that could be really cool.
yeah,
But it was one of the only platforms that was built as an EV.
yeah, from the ground
The
up.
materials that the inside is made from is really cool. The sort of eco sort of stats of what the factory do is really cool.
Yeah,
With all
it's
the
all.
sort of renewable energy they use over there,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
there's a lot to be proud about.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think that was the thing for me. I mean, it's like all the, I don't want to say all the negative stuff. Actually, for me, the main negative part, not even negative, is the doors. There's
yeah,
not there's not much that I can point at that car and go, I don't like. The doors
but
are
then
a
even like you
pain,
said,
but I
the
like them.
doors are pros and cons,
Um,
whereas
you
everything
know,
else is pros.
yeah. I mean, everything else. The car looks fantastic. It drives fantastic. I think somebody mentioned on one of my videos was like, how's it drive at like 60, 70 miles? And it's like, it's fine. I travel up and down the country in mine,
Mm,
as you know. I think I'm past 20 something thousand miles in a couple of years.
mm.
And it's fine. There is, I suppose the one thing I do find is that if you get high winds on a motorway, it can sway a little bit.
Yeah, those
But
eco-friendly tires are both good
yeah,
and bad in that respect. And it also bugs me that if you kind of try to launch it, it doesn't. It just bogs down and
yeah,
then pulls away because there's just not enough grip on those tires to use the power that's there. And you've got to
yeah.
kind of roll it off up to about 5-10 miles an hour, and then you can boot it, and then it's quite quick.
I wonder if
Um,
that's different on the sport version. I mean, I drove the
it
sport
annoys me. I
version and it
can't
was,
remember because the one I took out from EVC was the i3S.
yeah,
And then I spoke to quite a few people, and they said there's no real benefit for going for the S model. It's better. Um,
see, I thought that was better because it was, when I drove it, it did have slightly wide wheels and it was more planted because of the suspension they'd
yeah,
changed.
so the wheels are wider and they're
I thought they
bigger.
were slightly
Um,
wider.
I'll have to look that up
Yeah,
to
I'm
be
not
honest.
sure, but yeah,
I'm not. Yeah, they it's just it's a sportier package, but I found that on the type of sort of driving, sort of say just like suburbs and stuff like that, it was quite sort of pogoey because the
yeah,
suspension was quite a bit harder. And I spoke to quite a few people, and a lot of them said just go for the standard model. Um, it's not going to be a sports car in the way, say, like an M3 is versus
no,
just a standard 320 diesel. Um, it's just like an i3 plus a small benefit, and it's a little bit cheaper. So yeah, I didn't. With looking back, I don't think I'd go for the i3S. It's just a bit of a bragging rights, really, having the cool, the top of the range one,
yeah,
um, and the technology of it. There's something that, having done so well over 20,000 miles in Teslas, I don't miss the technology when I drive the i3. The
yeah,
sat nav is the only thing that really lacks, but then I very rarely need to use a sat nav in the i3 anyway because it's kind of like an errands car.
yeah,
Um, my wife uses it a bit more because she often goes to people's houses. She's a hypnobirthing instructor, so she'll go to a pregnant family's house.
mm.
So finding their house, it can be using the sat nav. But the sat nav works. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's
It's
the
not
Tesla's one. It's just
it's not the
amazing.
yeah, it's not the best, but yeah, it's certainly workable. And actually, I've found over the last 6 months, they've made improvements certainly to the sat nav and certainly to
Yeah,
picking up chargers and things like that. So that's, at least they're doing that. I think the biggest problem for me is that I didn't realize that the i3 does update, and I didn't think it did. And actually,
I
somebody yeah,
I'll have to look into it.
somebody told me on one of my videos, and I said, well, it's a shame it doesn't do that. And literally the next day, I got an update to the maps that showed more um, more chargers that weren't there before.
Okay, so
there's
tell
an
you
element.
actually you have the update. I'll have to go.
Yeah, there's an element it does it, and I didn't do anything.
Yeah,
I don't know whether it's because I had the app and the app was open in the car, or how it works, but
I'll have
it
to text
does
you after
something.
this chat's done and ask.
There's a video for
Um,
you, Andy. There you go. You can have that
yeah,
one.
the only thing that really annoys me is like I think you're with Octopus as well.
Yeah.
So we're both with Octopus, and I know you don't charge at home, but we do. So we've got Go, and I actually followed Evie Nick's video of how to set up the thing, and I did it, and it still didn't work. So it's probably my fault. I've got a bit of a habit of breaking tech, but at the same time, it should be so simple to say, right, charge during these hours only. Click. Yeah. It should be simple, and it's not. And you know, his video is brilliant, and it's purely just BMW making it difficult. Because in the Tesla, you literally go down, click a button, or click on the screen, type in your start time, and then go, and you're done.
That's how it should be.
That's how it should be. And it's little things like that bug me, because I'm like, you know, off-peak charging is such a big deal now that you should be able to get that sorted.
I find the app isn't particularly. It's all right, but it's clunky.
Yeah, and it's never like in the Tesla. I could literally watch Kate, my wife, drive home and watch the speed in real time.
Yeah,
and it might be creepy to some people, but from a safety point of view, that I really like that. Like if she's driving home at 11 o'clock at night, I can open the app up, know where she is.
Yeah.
Although once she was driving down to, I know we're going to do a separate chat about Tesla.
That's right.
But she was driving down to a wedding, and I had to daddy daycare for the girls because it wasn't a kid's wedding. And he drove down and then started driving the wrong way. I just happened to check the app just to see where she was. I was like, she's going the wrong way. Shit, someone's nicked the car. What's going on? So I called her and I'm like, are you lost? And she's like, yeah, sorry. I was like, it was just complete fluke. I checked the app at that time. But yeah, things like that. The BMW app could be so much better. So if I had my dream, and like I'm going to do a video at some point soon about what my dream small car would be. And it would be something like a Tesla Model 3, but smaller, i3 size, with some kind of cool rear door. Like you could do. See, I thought the Model Y was going to be this car, because I thought the Model Y was going to have Falcon Wing doors for both front and rear doors. I thought they would do some kind of cool thing there.
Yeah.
Like you see on some sci-fi movies where both doors open together and they just open up like a Falcon. I think that would be really cool on a small car. Obviously, it's the complexities there and the cost is there. But an i3 with cooler rear doors, a little bit better tech, but as long as it works, I love the simplicity of getting in, handbrake off, turn the dial and go. Like, not. It's just simplicity.
I would take away a lot of the buttons, though. I've never used half the buttons for like aircon and things like that. Is fine, but
then you've got iDrive. Who presses the 1 to 6 or 1 to 8 buttons for the radio? I can't even tell you if there's 6 or 8. I think there's 8. Yeah. You just don't need it because you've got the iDrive.
Take them away. I mean, take all those pointless items away and leave it with, because the tech in there is good. It just needs to be updated. That's the one thing actually that I think that doesn't get updated, in that if you look at the i3S, I think it is, the menu system is different to like the model I've got, but there's no way to update my one to that.
Because you can get the bigger screen, can't you?
Yeah, but it seems crazy that you can't have the latest essentially operating system, you know, of that i3 drive, and that it's silly things like that. Whereas, you know, Tesla, again, you know, it just happens.
Yeah, you might have to pay for hardware 3 for full self-driving, but
yeah,
I think people are a bit optimistic about when full self-driving is going to happen.
yeah, it's a little way off, I think.
Again, another video.
Another video, yeah.
But no, I think the i3 is amazing. I've been involved in a few people buying them just because I did 2 very cheesily titled videos: 5 things I love, 5 things I hate. For the size of my channel, which is just tiny, they've done quite a few thousand each. I'm still in. Well, sadly, I actually got one guy bought one, and it turned out to be an absolute lemon. And BMW claimed there was nothing wrong with it. And he showed me a video of the drivetrain clunking when he was driving it forwards and back on his drive. I was like, that's just a lemon.
Yeah,
every car gets them. BMW should be giving all your money back and you get another one.
Yeah, definitely.
Everyone just loves them. That drives them. You can pick them up.
I don't know anyone that's bought one and goes, I don't like it. Well, actually, even Nick, I think, didn't like his.
Yeah.
Yeah, but most people I know that are meets and things like that, they absolutely love their i3.
See, we've had the dilemma of, could we run an i3 in the same way we would run, say, like the Model S or Model 3? And I think if you put a roof box on the i3, you would get a pretty good amount of storage space.
Yeah.
And I know there's that guy that I think you've shared pictures of who's modified his and done a roof box on it, which is awesome. But I don't know what the range would be. I think
it must reduce the range in terms of that drag at the top.
Yeah, and I think if you could make an i3 with, say, a 200-mile easy range, because don't forget, like the 120 amp hour one I've got should do 170 to 190 miles.
Yeah, but realistically,
yeah, you've got to be perfect scenario in the heat of summer, well-charged battery with
20 miles an hour.
Yeah, I don't know. I think personally, my view has always been about 200 miles. If you're going to be doing lots of long journeys, it's very easy to run. But for what we use the i3 for, we don't need it. And I'd rather have the smaller battery, use less resources, cheaper, quicker to charge.
Yeah.
It's great.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Like, you start getting these bigger batteries and things like that, they start to become longer unless the charging infrastructure meets that requirement as well. So actually,
yeah,
where the i3 is at the moment is kind of right at that point where it's a big enough range with a practical charging speed, and they
like
have to match each other.
If you're only charging a 44 kilowatt battery, you're very rarely going to charge 0 to 100%.
Yeah.
So you're probably more likely going to be putting in, say, 20 kilowatt hours of charge. It's no time at all. By the time you've gone to the toilet and bought a bottle of water and come back to your car, it's ready to go again.
Yeah, exactly.
I would like to do a long journey in it though. At some point, it's just finding the time. I'd love to just
do what me and Gary done. Just decided to drive stupid amounts of miles. I don't recommend that.
I like that series you did, and there's part of me that said I should just do it.
Yeah, should do. Or we should do it in convoy.
Yeah, and then actually, see what the difference between the 2 batteries and whether it makes much difference. Because the other thing is, Kate and I both quite enjoy driving, so we don't drive slowly. So naturally, we're going to get rubbish MPG or economy. In all the petrol cars we've had before, and one diesel, which was a nightmare, we never got the full MPG back then. So why should we now? It doesn't make makes complete sense that it's just it is what it is. It's just a brilliant little family car, plenty of range. I just love them.
Yeah, it's good. I love mine. I'll never go back. So I think that's a good place to leave it.
Hopefully, if anyone's watched this and enjoyed it, they'll realise that these i3s are worth trying out. And I know EVC have currently loaned all their cars to the NHS, which is really cool.
Is fantastic.
But once this crisis is over and done with, get down to EVC, take one out for a free test drive, or rent it for 4 or 7 days and just realize why we love them. You got to drive these things. This is the thing. You got to get. It's infrastructure which lets someone else sort out. But for us as owners, we need to be educating people and giving them seat time and telling people why they're good, and ideally showing them and letting them experience it. Because I don't know anyone who's gone EV. One person, and he was the guy that had the i3 that had the really messed up thing that put him off, and he just went back to trucks. But based on the fact he went from truck to an i3, I don't think it was a perfect car for him.
They'll come back.
Literally everyone else, they've gone EV and now they're like, I'm not going back.
No, absolutely not. So before we wrap up then, so your channel is?
Annoyingly, so I'm ElectricPetrolHead. So that's the easy thing to search for. On Twitter, I'm ElectricPetrol because they don't give you enough characters. But everything else, Facebook and Instagram, ElectricPetrolHead.
Perfect. So if you guys don't already subscribe to this guy, subscribe to him. It's a really good channel. Give this video a like. And subscribe if you don't already. Check out the Patreon page if you have time, and if share this video with everyone.
Comment below, and Simon or I will answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Simon. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.